And to kick things off, let's address President Trump's consideration of deploying the National Guard to Portland.
Listen, when I observe the protracted unrest in Portland, it's not just some local disturbance, right? It's a sustained assault on civil order and, crucially, the federal presence there.
I will say this. I watched today. I didn't know that was continuing to go on, but Portland is unbelievable what's going on. Destruction of the city.
Are you going in?
Well, I'm going to look at it now because I didn't know that was still going on. This has been going on for years.
The president is absolutely justified in considering strong federal action. We've witnessed consistent, escalating confrontations, often targeting federal buildings and personnel, like, the ICE facilities. This isn't peaceful demonstration when federal property is under siege, period. When local authorities appear overwhelmed or frankly unwilling to robustly enforce the law, and let's be honest, that seems to be the case, the federal government has a responsibility, a duty to step in. Historically, legal precedents like the Insurrection Act, though yes, rarely invoked, exist precisely for situations where states cannot or will not protect federal functions or ensure domestic tranquility. We saw it during the 2020 unrest, federal interventions, when decisive, effectively restored order where local efforts had clearly failed. To me, this is about ensuring law and order, protecting federal employees, and sending an unequivocal message that this kind of chaos will not be tolerated. Some may call it heavy-handed, I call it necessary leadership.
I understand the impulse to restore order. I really do. But framing the situation as solely a sustained assault kind of glosses over the complex realities on the ground in Portland. These protests, while, yes, at times involving conflict, are largely fueled by profound community outrage over aggressive immigration and customs enforcement ICE actions. Specifically, we're talking about raids that often result in family separations and create significant fear within immigrant communities regardless of their legal status. Deploying the National Guard, or really any federal law enforcement in that kind of heavy way, into a civilian protest environment risks a profound militarization of domestic disputes. That approach frequently escalates tensions, it infringes upon civil liberties, and it has a well-documented history of transforming peaceful demonstrations into more violent confrontations. We've seen that play out in various cities.
Furthermore, this narrative of unremitting chaos,
it often overstates the actual situation. Recent data, for instance, has actually shown a decline in overall violent crime rates in many urban areas. So to justify federal overreach by painting this picture of widespread anarchy, for me, it appears less about genuine public safety and more like, political signaling. It deflects from the need for comprehensive immigration reform that actually addresses the humanitarian concerns directly. It's not about ignoring disorder, it's about choosing proportional, effective solutions that don't just compound the problem.
With all due respect, you're saying militarization and overreach, but when federal buildings are repeatedly attacked, when federal officers are targeted, we're past mere protest then. This isn't just about local sentiment. It's about the sovereignty and functioning of federal operations. The idea that protecting federal property with federal resources is somehow militarizing, that ignores the very real threat posed to those people upholding the law. Sometimes decisive action is the only thing that prevents further escalation and a complete breakdown of order. And to suggest these actions are just political posturing, that minimizes the genuine threat to public safety and property that we're seeing.
but decisive action must be proportionate. When crime rates are actually trending down and protests, while sometimes contentious, don't necessarily constitute an insurrection, bringing in armed federal forces, it can easily be perceived as an act of intimidation rather than a thoughtful response to a specific, verifiable threat. It risks alienating the very communities it claims to protect, and, frankly, it undermines the delicate balance of federalism by sidestepping local authority without really clear, overwhelming justification.
All right, let's shift gears. Let's turn our attention to another genuinely strong decision.